What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Debate Maze. I am Matthew, and today I am joined with Coach Z and with Jack here again, both of them together. And today we got a fun episode planned. We're going to go and do our 1 through 8 seeds in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. But before we begin, our last 2 videos have been our most viewed videos of all, so please continue to view them, to share them, and like them. And if you enjoy the content, please subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. So thank you guys for watching. Please help us get to 200 subscribers. We're going to do something really special. Coach Z will be involved. Jack will be involved. Might get some IRL basketball going, a little 3v3. So make sure to stay tuned and keep subscribing if you want to see it. Now, without further ado, let's go to the Eastern Conference for our 8 seed. Jack, since you got the little small screen down there, you want to get us started?
Eastern Conference 8 seed?
Yep.
All right, I've got the Pacers.
Do you want to explain, or do you want
Well,
to?
I mean,
No,
I thought
like
we were
that.
all going to go in a little circle and then discuss.
Okay,
right.
you can do that.
Okay, all right.
All right, so
I'm next. Am I?
who's next?
I'll go next. I got the Wizards.
Oh, that's a really good one, Matt. I have the Hawks. I have the Hawks as my 8th seed team. So
All right, Jack, you got the Pacers. Why don't you explain first, and then we'll.
Okay, so
we'll
I think that the Pacers are, going to be a fringe playoff team. I think that there's some other teams that could probably take that 8 seed, like hopefully the Magic, but I think the Pacers are a little bit better than the Magic. But I think there are some teams that probably could slip in there. I think the Pacers, it really depends a lot on if Victor Oladipo is going to be healthy again. But, they have some solid pieces. But with, how strong the East has gotten this year, I don't see them, placing higher than, the 8th or maybe the 7th tops.
Yeah, I mean, there are 4 teams I think we can all count out. The Knicks, the Pistons, the Cavs, and the Hornets.
Right, yeah.
Bulls have Zach LaVine, so there's a chance. Hawks have a lot of good players, so there's a chance. Magic are always there, so there's a chance. But a team with Trae Young is not a winning team, in my opinion. A team with just Zach LaVine and some minor guys is not a winning team.
Yeah.
And I just think the Wizards are going to have a lot more firepower than the Magic. This team is really built around Westbrook when you look at all the shooters around them. Bradley Beal, Dallas Bertans, Rui Hachimura, and Thomas Bryant at the center. So I think he's going to fit really well with them. And this is one team. Most teams that Westbrook's been on, you've got to say, like, he can't average a 30-point triple-double if they're going to win. They're going to need him. They're going to want him, I feel like, to average a 30-point triple-double. That's, like, just how the Wizards are. They score a lot. They don't worry about defense. This is perfectly geared to Westbrook's system. And I just think the top 7 are pretty clear-cut for me. So I definitely think they'll make it. Any team with Westbrook is normally in contention for a playoff spot. Beal is a great player as well. So I got to go with the Wizards as my 8 seed.
yeah, and I chose the Hawks. I think they were one of the teams we listed last debate mates as some of the offseason winners with all of their pickups. I know that they only won 20 games last season, so there's always a difference between like a team on paper versus a team when you play in real life. But I'm just excited with their additions. I think that Trae Young is going to kind of step up his game and evolve a little bit more, although last night he didn't have the best of games. But to add the pieces like Gallinari and Clint Capella, I think it's going to be exciting ball. And if they can like gel together and put that paper on the court, I think they have a shot for the 8th seed. But I'll agree with both of you guys. This is one of the toughest picks to make because we just don't know. We don't have enough information until they start playing like some regular season games. Can we really sort it out?
All right.
So,
Yep.
my 8th seed.
Moving on to the 7 seed. Jack, you want to start us off again?
Yeah, I've got the Wizards for my 7 seed.
Coach Z?
I think it's going to be –
Yeah, Tech man. I'm the Wizards as well.
I got
because
the Indiana Pacers.
Sorry, what?
I have the Pacers.
Okay.
So since you had the Pacers at the 8 seed, and Coach Z, you either don't have them in there or have them pretty high. I'll explain why I think the Pacers are the 7 seed.
Okay.
They were one of the teams that I was really high on going into the bubble. I thought they were going to play really well because when you look at Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis, who was one of the most underrated players in the league, he averaged a double-double, I think about 20 and 10. Was an all-star, but people kind of forget that a little bit. They don't even act like he's the best player on their team because T.J. Warren stole the spotlight in the bubble because Domantas was injured and he averaged like 50 or scored 50 in that one game. Oladipo kind of still has the spotlight because of all the drama with him, and he did make the All-Star game a couple years ago. Then you got guys like Brogdon. I think this team has they just got a lot of really good players. They have one of the best starting 5s, I think, this year. Brogdon, Oladipo, T.J. Warren, Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner. Miles Turner maybe doesn't fit as well with them because of how Domantas Sabonis has emerged as an all-star. But if Oladipo comes back near all-star form, Malcolm Brogdon was a fringe all-star last year. We're talking a roster with 3 almost all-stars on their team, albeit they're not top all-stars, they're not all-star starters, but they're in that top 15 in the or they're in the top 15 category in their conference. So I think they're a lock to make the playoffs. And there are just 6 teams that are a little bit more talented, so I'll go Raptors at 7.
So your 3 all-stars for the Pacers are Sabonis, Oladipo, and who?
And Brogdon. I'm not saying they're going to make the all-star team, but Oladipo was an all-star in 2017 or 2018. Brogdon was a fringe all-star candidate last year. Sabonis was an all-star. So they have
Sabonis is an all-star level player. Oladipo was. I don't think he ever will be again. And I don't know why. I don't think Brogdon's even a fringe all-star. I don't think there's I owe you $100
without Oladipo last year, though. They were really solid. And this year you add Oladipo. Hopefully he plays within himself.
Yeah, he played some last year, though, and he wasn't any good. He averaged like 12 on really bad shooting splits.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really depends on if he plays well. If he plays well, I could see them going as high as maybe the 5th or 6th seed, but otherwise I think they're going to be near the bottom. That's why I have the Wizards ahead of them, because assuming Beal and, Westbrook stay healthy, I think it's going to be kind of similar to how the Thunder were in 2018 when they had Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Not a great team, but, enough star power to make the playoffs.
Yeah, with the Pacers, though, I know you're saying that you think Oladipo needs to play really well for them to be good, or at least all-star level. I think the only thing with Oladipo is he cannot try to play at an all-star level if he's not ready to play at an all-star level. There were times in the bubble he would force it because he was playing as if he was still an all-star. If he does that, they have no chance. If he is a role player until he gets his legs back under him, then I think they'll be really good. And then when he's ready to take that jump, even if it's not all-star caliber, even if it's just a 15-point per game kind of guy, he has to just do what his body lets him do and not try to turn back time.
Yeah.
And then Coach Z, you also have the Wizards at the 7th seed. Same reasons as Jack?
Yeah, pretty much same reasons. I mean, just to add for the Indiana, I'm big into star power, especially in the East Coast. It seems like all the teams that make it to the playoffs or actually do something, they just have like legit true all-stars, 1, 2, 3 of them. And I don't know. It's just a mid-market franchise. Those guys, to me, have very little wow factor. Granted, they were 4th in the East last year, but we'll get to some of those other teams that I think are going to overtake their place. And I thought the teams I included just got better in the offseason. So I actually left the Pacers out completely. But they would probably be my 8th, 9th, 10th seed around there. Yeah, I did the Wizards because the one thing with Houston that didn't work, one, it wasn't really a scripted offense. It was kind of like a free-for-all with Mike D'Antoni. And I don't know what it is, but I think Harden needs to control the show. And that kind of rubs Westbrook the wrong way. That doesn't really fit into his play style of also being a very similar player like that. I think with the Wizards, like Bradley Beal can be more than comfortable just taking that sidekick role, even though, in my opinion, he's the better player. Just a personality type similar to like a Klay Thompson that, hey, Russell, do your thing. When you're driving, kick it out to me. I'm going to knock down jumpers. I'm excited for the Wizards. And like you said, Tech Man, I think it's going to be like OKC. Here we go.
All right, moving on to the 6th seed. Jack, you want to start us off again?
Yeah, I got the Sixers.
Coach Z?
Hey, did you like steal my notebook?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, 76ers. Let's go.
I have the Raptors. So since I have the different team again, I'll explain first, and then you guys can give your reasons. So the Raptors basically are going into this year with the same roster as last year, minus Serge Ibaka, which is a pretty big piece. Marc Gasol contributed more in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. And honestly, I think Marc Gasol to the Lakers is extremely overhyped because he does look sort of washed. In the playoffs, he looked a little slow on defense. He was definitely not as good as Serge Ibaka. And I think the Lakers fans are expecting that this is like somewhat close to prime Marc Gasol. They're going to be in for a rude awakening, I think. Aaron Baines is not on the level of Serge Ibaka, but he's a decent three-point shooter. He's a good defender. He fits with Toronto well. He's not going to do anything that he's not asked to do. He'll shoot threes if they want him to. He'll rebound. He'll block shots. He'll take charges, set good screens. Pascal Siakam has to take a jump. Last year, Stretch and I had him both as a top 25 player in the 15 to 18 range. I don't know if after the playoffs you can consider him still in that same category. Van Fleet, Lowry, a very good backcourt. Of course, they don't have size, but that really doesn't get exposed until the playoffs. Then OG Anunoby, I expect him to take a big jump. He was a really decent player in the bubble. I expect him to continue to get better and get more comfortable. So, although you guys probably have them higher, they're just not as talented as the top 5 teams. And as long as they have Nick Nurse at the helm, they're gonna make the playoffs. So I just can't put them any higher than the 6th seed.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I have the Raptors in a similar spot. I don't think they're going to be as good as last year, but for the Sixers, I feel like this doesn't warrant that much of an explanation. Unless Ben Simmons comes into this year being able to shoot, they're going to be mediocre. They're going to win like 48 games, and they're going to be the 6th seed. Same thing that it's been for the past 2
Yeah, and I agree with you, Jack. I think the difference maker, and my 5th pick are the Raptors.
Well, spoiler alert.
Whoa, same.
Spoiler. Yeah. My 5th pick are the Raptors, and really it just comes down to coaching with these two franchises. Swanee, everything you said, spot on. I agree completely. Just like the Indiana argument, I don't know if they have the star power to really compete for those top 3 positions, but they were able to retain Van Vliet, and Siakam is a good addition. For the 76ers, it's Doc Rivers. Can you get what talent you have on paper to work? But I still think it's just not enough to get past the 5th or 6th. So I have both of those teams making the playoffs because you have Nick Nurse and you have Doc Rivers, 2 of the best coaches in our league, but not getting much further than that unless we have some huge trades in the future.
All right. For the 5th seed, I'll start us off since you both have the Raptors. This one might be a little bit of a hot take, but I have the Miami Heat. I know they're coming.
Hold on.
I know they're coming off of a
process that for a second.
But you see this with a lot of Jimmy Butler-led teams. They have a decent regular season, just good enough to maybe get home court advantage to be competitive, and then they kind of turn it on in the playoffs. 72 games in a very short off season. I don't know how much the offseason will affect a guy like Jimmy Butler because, yes, he did work really hard and is probably a lot more tired than most NBA players, but also he's Jimmy Butler, and he has the endurance of a demigod, so he'll probably be fine. Bam Adebayo, I think, has become slightly overrated. He's still really good. He's an all-star caliber player. Tyler Hero, one of the more overrated players in the league. He might have that potential to be a Devin Booker type one day, as some people do expect him to be. But ESPN is totally off, ranking him as a top 60 to 70 player in the league. He is not there yet. They have a great roster. They have a good coach. But it just comes down to talent for me. Are they more talented than the 4 teams that I have ahead of them, which you guys will discuss in a bit? I just can't see it. I do want to ask you guys this question about the Heat, though. Recently, there's been some speculation that they could be involved in trades for James Harden. If they do trade for James Harden, did they take a step back or do they take a step forward? I know that sounds like a crazy question, but does Harden fit with their system or does he make them a little bit worse?
I don't think he fits incredibly well with their system, but I do think just when you add a player like that, you kind of have to take a step forward, at least slightly. I think if they get Harden, they're definitely finals contenders. I don't know if they're championship contenders because I don't think any of the teams in the East have really that much of a chance of beating the Lakers, with the exception maybe of the Nets. But yeah, I think Harden would be a step forward simply because he's such a great player, but I don't think he fits that well with their system.
Yeah, I've always thought, I think, like Jack, they'll definitely get marginally better, but it really with the trade, and I did see that Jimmy Butler in that Instagram post. I'm not sure if you caught his interview, but he said it's because I like his hair.
He has a well-nourished beard. Pardon those.
Right, his beard. He has a well-nourished beard. I thought that was hilarious. But it just, who do they give up? Because I think Miami has such a good thing going now with active roles carved out for some really good players. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic. Only one person can shoot per possession. So, if Harden is there taking 20, 25 shots, who do you take away from? What would their role translate to? Once again, it goes to coaching, though. I think Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. So if somebody can make it happen to make the team better, then I think he's one of the ones to do it. So it really just depends on what they give up, but a little bit better.
And they did lose Jay Crowder and Mo Harkless. They got Mo Harkless, but they lost Jay Crowder. They lost Derrick Jones Jr. I think people are really underrating how big of a piece Jay Crowder played in their championship run.
Do you add, though, like Avery Bradley, though? Does he make –
But who is he taking minutes away from? Dragic, Nunn, Hero, Butler. They all are kind of playing that similar position. I don't think he takes minutes away from Nunn because he's young. He's improving. Goran, I don't think he takes minutes away from. Duncan can't take minutes away from him. He's such a good shooter. Same with Tyler Hero. So you're either going to go really small with Bradley, or if maybe he's just like a break in case of emergency if Hero or Dragic were to get injured.
Yeah, I always thought of him as like a good defender, a good like role player and stuff like that. So it just adds the depth, like the regular season depth. You're not really taking minutes away from anybody, but you will carve out your little role to help the team in that 5 minutes of a quarter or your 15 to 20 minutes a game. So,
and let me ask you this: before they traded for Jay Crowder, the Heat were the 5 seed. Now they lost Jay Crowder, basically the same roster. I think Jay Crowder was a very big piece. He's a phenomenal 3-point shooter. He's a phenomenal defender. People are underestimating how big of a loss that is, that Mo Harkless definitely cannot fill.
Yeah, but
Leonard definitely cannot fill.
I mean, I was going to get kind of into this like argument when we got to my seat. There is just something powerful about going to the finals. It just invokes confidence, especially when you're dealing with young players. So I think to have made it, to have given the Lakers a competition, to have done it with Goran Dragic being hurt, with Bam being hurt, and still managing to fight to pick up a game, like that's a huge deal. And I think their confidence at a sky high. They're young, so their legs are fresh. So I think you're going to see huge improvements from Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Bam with his big contract, and that will negate the loss of Crowder.
All right, and the 4 seed, so Jack and Coach Z, you both had Raptors at the 5. I had Heat at the 5. Jack, you guys want to start with your 4 seed since you probably have the same thing again?
Yeah, I have the Celtics.
Oh, get out of here. That is too –
I got the Celtics too.
I have the Celtics.
All right, so there's not much debate here. I mean,
not much debate mates to go on around here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
So you each want to give a reason why we have them at the 4?
I think they're really good, but I don't think they're as good as the next 3 teams I got. That's really as simple as it is.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty overhyped because of Jason Tatum. I think they're a really solid team, but they're not playoff contenders. They're not championship contenders.
And take this as a good sign or a bad sign. I want to get your opinion on it. So Kemba Walker is going to miss until early January, which seems like a lot of time, but when you really think that they're starting on December 22nd, It's not that much time. So on the one hand, it tells you that he wasn't in his full form when he was completely horrible in the playoffs, because we kind of thought that his size might have finally been exposed. They might have figured him out. But now we know that he probably didn't have the step he normally would have. So is this knee, now that we know that his knee was still bothering him in the playoffs, is it kind of a good thing because you have the confidence that we'll see all-star level Kemba Walker again, or is it a bad thing because this might be the Kemba Walker we're stuck with for the rest of his career?
I don't know. I mean, I think he'll still be an all-star level player. I think that so many other teams in the Eastern Conference have gotten so strong this offseason. I don't see them taking anywhere past. I mean, maybe the 3 seed, but definitely not, top 2.
Yeah. Coach Z, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I just think they're like above average talent. They just have a lot of pretty good guys. You have Jason Tatum to lead the thing, but in my mind, he's maybe a top 20 player, top 25. And then there's a big gap between him and Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker. I consider they're in my top 60, top 70 guys. So you have a collection of good guys, but no super, super great guys. So like I said before, like Boston isn't really doing anything wrong. I don't think they lost that much by losing Hayward. I just
I'm going to have to disagree with you there because I didn't really realize this until I played 2K the other day. I was playing
he's a GOAT, dude. He's also a fantasy GOAT. You know why he gets paid the big bucks?
I didn't realize until I chose them on 2K that their bench at this point is kind of non-existent. They have Jeff Teague. They have
Taco Fall
and or Daniel Tice. Yeah, they have Taco Fall. Can't forget about him.
He leads the league in field goal percentage.
He leads the league in everything. He's just the best, besides Harrison Barnes, of course.
Oh, yeah, of
Okay.
course. Harrison Barnes is ranked number 1. Whatever team he's on is my Western Conference
He saw
Finals.
he had a really good game last night in the preseason.
It was okay. It was 15 points. I mean, if that's really good in your book, so be it. Hey, Wiggins plays tonight, 8:30. Watch. Witness.
So, anyways, their bench, besides Teague and Thompson or Tice, is pretty bad. Semi Ojeleye is a decent player. He's more of a guy that you just play when you have someone you need to stop on offense. Like, he's the type of guy that can do better on a LeBron James, but if you're not playing a team like that, you wouldn't really use him because he's not a great shooter.
Mm-hmm.
That's really as far as their bench goes. They're gonna have to play. They're gonna have to be comfortable playing their rookies and their sophomore guys like Cole. What's his name? Never mind. Peyton Richardson, I think his name. Some guys like that. They're gonna have to get comfortable playing rookies.
I think
that Peyton Pritchard guy.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jack. I just think that you got a good team is going to have 3 scorers that can give you 20 a game, right? I mean, that's going to get you into the playoffs. And they got Tatum's going to give, hopefully with a contract, a big leap, 25 points a game, maybe 26. You got Jaylen Brown that can give you 21, over 20. And then you got Kemba Walker coming back. Then you'll find your little pieces like Marcus Smart and Tristan Thompson. They'll chip in 10, chip in 15 a night or so. But I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I think too, like when I'm looking at, and I'm not going to say, the names of them because this would be, kind of giving it away. But for the East, all the 3 teams I have ahead of them have at least one superstar, and that's the thing.
I don't think you're going to spoil anything. I don't think
you're right. You're right.
The Knicks or the Hornets are in your top 3.
But what I'm noticing is what sets good teams and great teams apart is superstars, because the Celtics have 3 all-star level players, but they don't have any superstar level players. All my top 3 Eastern Conference teams do, and in the West, I mean, 1, 2, 3. 5 or 6 of the top teams have, at least one superstar level player. And they don't have that yet. People say Jason, he's not, he's an all-star level player, but that's it.
All right, moving on to the 3 seed. And I know my 3 seed is different than you guys. I'm going to assume you have the same 3. So just tell me at the same time, what is it?
Heat.
Bucks.
Oh,
all right.
So my 3 seed is the Philadelphia 76ers.
What?
Last year I said Joel Embiid was going to be MVP, and I think I said they were going to be the 1 seed. So I don't know what it is, but they just keep pulling me in. I keep falling for it. I keep getting.
Do you think they're going to get Harden or something?
In their trance, even with their current roster, every year I talk myself into the fact that Joel Embiid should be a top 10 player in the NBA.
He should be. He's got the
athletic tools. He's got the skills. He's got the talent, the height, the body to be a top 10, to be a top maybe 5 player in the NBA. There is no reason why he can't be Anthony Davis level, in my opinion, if you work.
Yeah, I agree.
Ben Simmons, of course, he still doesn't have that jump shot as far as we know. Maybe he's been working on it, but doubtful. I think Seth Curry and Danny Green are going to do a lot of good off the bench, or one of them starting one of them off the bench. I can talk myself into Shake Milton being a solid 6th man. He can distribute the ball. He can shoot occasionally. Every once in a while, he'll give you 20 points. So I like him a lot. Dwight Howard off the bench was great for the Lakers. I'm expecting a similar role from him. As long as you only happen to play that 15-ish minutes a game, I think he'll stay youthful for a while. Great to get rid of Al Horford. He just clogged the paint. So good riddance to him. I think you're looking at a really solid roster as long as Tobias Harris comes back to where he played, like how he was with the Clippers before he was traded, where he was a fringe all-star type of guy. You're going to need him to give you 15 to 20 per game if I'm going to be right about them being the
Matthew, are you anticipating them getting Harden?
I think it's not out of the question, but
like, are they the 3rd seed? Are they the 3rd seed with or without Harden?
This is without.
If they get Harden, what do you think their seeding is?
It depends on if they don't give up Ben Simmons, then they're the 1 seed and they're probably my championship favorites. If they give up Ben Simmons, then they probably fall to – and I think they probably stick around the same thing, honestly.
All right, fair enough.
Title contenders.
Yeah, I've just got the Heat because I think that, again, they're better in the playoffs than they are in the regular season. I think they are going to take a jump in terms of regular season performance from last season just because their young guys are going to develop further, and I think they've got that confidence, like Coach Z mentioned, from the making it to the finals. But obviously that leaves, in no particular order, the Bucks and the Nets to be my top 2 picks. So I just don't see them, going past either of those teams, especially with the addition of, Drew Holiday, and then assuming KD and Kyrie are healthy on the Nets. I don't see the Heat going past either of those teams.
Kyrie might decide to do a game blackout too. He's already blacking out the game. He might decide to black out the games.
That's basically just load management. That already happens. It just has a fancier name.
So, Coach Z, you see the Bucks, even after their new arrivals, taking a decent step back. What is it for you that has them moving back so far?
Well, it's the same argument with like the Heat is, these teams are so good on paper. You made a great offseason acquisition of getting, Holiday. I just don't know if on paper we'll be able to translate. Granted, like the Bucks are regular season superheroes. They do really well in the regular season. They have a well-depth constructed roster to compete. It's kind of selfish motives. Like, I'm really hoping that they kind of falter and then Giannis wants out and he can join Golden State. So I think there's just like a little bit of selfishness that's going on with why they would fall to 3. But overall, I mean, my third pick is kind of based off of my top two teams. I think they're just slightly better. I mentioned the Heat before, and we'll talk about the Nets when we get to them. But it's just a little bit more star power, and I don't know yet. It's too many unknowns for me. You have Giannis, you have Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday, but will it all work?
All right, for the number 2 seed, I'll get us started. I have the Brooklyn Nets for the simple reason of I don't think Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to play all 72 games. I don't even know if they'll play 60 games. But the talent is undeniable. Jack and Coach Z, I'll let you give your 2 seeds, and then I'll elaborate more.
Yeah, I got the Bucks.
I have the Nets.
All right, so Jack, this time you're the outlier. So what is about the Bucks that you think will make them drop as well?
Well, I don't think Giannis is as good as KD. I'll be honest. I think that they're in the same kind of tier where they're both, in that kind of, when healthy in their primes, in that top 5, maybe top 3 player.
Jack, if you don't have LeBron and KD as your 1 and 2 when KD's healthy,
I do have them as 1 and 2.
We don't know yet, though, Swanee. We don't know.
I get sensitive when we talk about Kevin Durant, Coach Z.
Yeah, I know. It's just the injury.
LeBron and prime KD are top 1 and 2 players in the league. I'm not even sure if necessarily in that order. I think that I don't think it's like a horrendous argument to say KD in his prime is better than LeBron, but I don't agree with it. But I think that the Bucks, I don't know. I don't think that they're going to be quite as, motivated as they were last season. Prior to last season, they had just gotten taken out by the Raptors in kind of an upset in the playoffs. And I think that they were really motivated to kind of, they think we've got an MVP level player in Giannis. We're going to win it this year. But after back-to-back years of having mediocre playoff performances and, underwhelming performances from their star players, I just don't think they have it in them to make it to the 1 seed again, especially with the Nets being obviously would be my number 1 pick now. You can just by process of elimination.
It's not the Knicks?
No, it's not the Knicks, sadly. I don't think that Julius Randle is going to carry them to the title this year. But yeah.
Next year.
What about Toppin? Did you see his game? He's the future.
Oh, him? The 8th pick?
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, Coach, he did well last night.
Why do you agree with me that but real quick, why did LiAngelo Ball not play in the Pistons game?
They don't actually care about his skill. They signed him to get views.
Is he secret? Is he either like their secret weapon? They're gonna wait and then
unleash him to the world, the best ball brother.
Yep. So, Coach Z, why do you agree with me that the Nets are the 2 seed?
I think the talent is undeniable. I think Kevin Durant, absolutely agree with you. I think they just had that stat, and it's always been, but active players in the league today, he's like one of the only ones to win a regular season MVP and 2 finals MVPs, LeBron being the other, and then it doesn't exist. There's no regular season MVP winners that win in the finals. So that's definitely my 1 and 2. To have him back fresh, a year removed from that injury, is going to provide plenty of offensive firepower. And I just like their overall roster, man. I think they have some like Dinwiddie and Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan. It's strong. The reason that I don't have them 1, though, is just there is something with chemistry issues, and I think Kyrie Irving is a team destroyer. I think even when they won the finals against Golden State, that was the leadership of LeBron. and Tyronn Lue and some of the veterans that kept that team together. I mean, all these articles are coming out just about like how, I mean, we've heard him before. He wouldn't talk to anybody for weeks at a time. He just seems to me, and always has been, like more concerned about himself and his stats and the overall team. And that dynamic just doesn't fly if you're trying to get to the top. Kudos to you. Load management is going to be huge, especially with Durant coming back from injury. So they're going to be very careful.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I mean,
Yeah, you know, I
just never want Kyrie to finish one. That's why I kept them all.
And I have the Nets as my 1 seed, and it's really just off of talent alone. I think if they stay healthy and if their chemistry is good, that this is, you know, a championship contending team. I don't think they'll beat the Lakers, but I think they can make it to the finals. The only thing that could really prevent them from making, you know, from coming out of the East, or at least, you know, getting close, I think is either injuries or bad chemistry. And, you know, I really just don't understand Kevin Durant's decision to go to Brooklyn in the first place. I understand, you know, he had the dissatisfaction with, you know, the Warriors organization after how they kind of treated his injury. Really,
No,
really
I don't think that was a big case, though. I mean,
well, then I don't. Well, I was going to say,
fan, I don't.
Yeah, then I don't know what else it is, because when he came to Golden State, he basically, you know, told Steph Curry, like, this is your team.
Absolutely,
I'm fine. Yep. And obviously, they played on a similar level. And I get that, because I would say Kevin Durant will be willing to do the same for Kyrie Irving. But for one thing, Kyrie Irving's not as good as Steph Curry. So that's one thing why I don't understand this decision. And B, I mean, Kyrie Irving isn't on the same level as Kevin Durant. I get it with KD and Steph, like, they're similar level players. They're both like top 5 players when healthy. So I get it. He comes to Steph's team. He's like, we're on the same skill level. I'm maybe even a little bit better, but this is your team. So you still got the keys. I'm just here to join. But in the case of the Nets, I just don't get it. Like, Kyrie Irving's a top, you know, 10 to 15 player when healthy, but he's not on KD's level. So I don't understand. Yeah. The only way their chemistry works is if KD takes a back seat, or, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'm sorry, Swanee. I know this is your show, so you're going to get your voice. I just really know a lot about Golden State. I followed him my whole life, and I really think that Kevin Durant came down to when he made the decision to join a team that he was up 3-1 and lost. He wasn't prepared for the amount of hate he received from everybody. It was a business decision for him, a life decision, and he felt like he was vilified. And so from the get, it was kind of like, maybe I can disassociate myself. And then I think it is a little bit of the ego thing. I mean, when he won his first MVP, that was a big deal. Always finished second in his life.
Calling him the B word. It's saying we don't need you.
That may be it, but like, if you look at that whole season, like yeah, exactly. And that him feeling that he wasn't as wanted or as valued as he thinks himself as he is. And so I think he wanted to separate completely. He wanted to go to a big market. That was very important to him. And then join up with some, like, a similar cast that had, you know, a good prospective future, and then make his own name, his own identity, versus always being linked with OKC, drafting him with other superstars, and now with Golden State. He was going to go to a place where when he wins the championship, if he wins a championship, there's no doubt in anybody's mind it's because of him. He's the reason. He's the clear cut.
Can I just say that what Kyrie is digging himself a deeper hole than I think he realizes. He's not picking a fight with just Shams or just Woj or just one media member who he doesn't like. He's picking a fight with basically the NBA community by saying, I'm not going to do part of my job. I don't care. The media are pawns, and I will not talk to them. I don't know what's going on in his mind, but it seems a bit.
I never know.
Like he is starting to go off the deep end a little bit. He's
succumbing to the dark side, man. I don't know. He's just like.
I did see. I was looking through his Instagram the other day, and Congo Illuminati, that account, comments on every single one of his posts.
It's because he posts Illuminati stuff. Like, he's a conspiracy theorist.
He's got a shoe with the Illuminati logo on it. I'm pretty sure he's got an Illuminati tattoo on his hand, on the back of his hand, I think.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's got himself into some crazy stuff. Maybe
and whatever.
Maybe being in the
that's not really what the
Illuminati
show's about, but it's like, it's concerning.
Maybe it's like being in the Impractical, like an episode of the Impractical Jokers, and the Illuminati is like, hey, go do this. Go say this. Go say the earth is flat.
Just feel like any PR is good PR.
You're not going to talk to them for the whole season.
But it's so strange because 5 years ago when he was with LeBron, that was when he said like the earth is flat around that time.
Yeah.
But Kyrie seemed like a pretty normal guy. You know, he spoke well with the
All things
media.
considered, it was like he's a normal person,
And then he
right?
just woke up one morning and was like, I choose chaos.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think, all right, there's a lot of things I think to that. I think the biggest comment he made that kind of sat wrong with me was saying that they didn't have a coach on their team. Like,
Yeah.
that is like just automatically you're like the most arrogant person that we don't have a coach, just like a manager of. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But then I read an article in the Atlantic, and I'll give credit at the end of it. Of the video on YouTube of who wrote it, but they kind of brought a perspective because initially when I hear that, I'm like, that is so ridiculous. You get paid $40 million. You are president or vice president of the Players Association that has negotiated a contract of what your responsibilities are for after games. Like, you need to do your 5 minutes, answer questions. It could be it's simple. You don't really have to say anything, but just do your part. Like, you're expecting everybody else to do it. You don't get special treatment. But the author brought up just the whole bubble incident where George Floyd and Black Lives Matter and social like unrest was going on. And he posed the question, is now the appropriate time to play basketball when we're dealing with such more societal issues than just a sport? And he felt like the flack on him for saying he wasn't going to play or should we play as a league kind of turn his viewpoint towards media, that they are so powerful that they can control the narrative and the directive of a player, and now he chooses like not to speak. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with all of it, but then I kind of see a
I see
little
his
bit of his
point,
point.
yeah.
And other athletes have done that. They have said, like Marshawn Lynch wouldn't speak to the media when he was doing a Super Bowl run with the Seahawks because he felt like whatever they say, they blow it out of proportion, and they could paint you in the best light or they can paint you in the negative light. And where is that objective truth? So
Yeah, and I get that, but I think too, just not saying anything, that could be just as bad, you know?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying, but from a leadership standpoint, strictly from a basketball standpoint, just because Kyrie isn't talking does not mean the questions are going to go away. 72 games of the season, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kevin Durant, Karis LeVert, Steve Nash. So what's Kyrie's disposition after this game? How's he feeling after this loss? How's he feeling that he didn't get X amount of shots? All it's going to do is add more stress to his teammates, coaches. All it's going to do is make an implosion that much more likely.
Especially if they're not winning. If they're not winning.
Imagine the Cleveland locker room when they were struggling with LeBron and Kyrie, and LeBron was talking to like David Blatt. Hey, where's Kyrie? Like after a 30-point loss, and Kyrie's just like in the shower meditating for half an hour, like just doing some crazy thing off on the side. I can't imagine what that was like. How did they get along? LeBron seems like the most normal, like straight
down to earth kind of. Yeah.
And then there's Kyrie's a little. He's got a lot of opinions. You know.
He's a little off the rails.
Yeah, but what did Kyrie say recently that kind of rubbed LeBron the wrong way? Or maybe it was in the past, but
he said
you got it, Jeff.
Yeah, he said that having KD as a teammate is the first time in his career where he's felt like someone else can take clutch shots.
Yeah, and then they put up the infographic about like his clutch ability.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I was listening to a Stephen A. Smith rant, and he was talking to Max Kellerman, and he was like, when Kyrie said the earth is flat, Max, that was your fault. When Kyrie said that KD is the only guy that he's ever played with that can make a clutch shot, it was our fault for assuming he was talking about LeBron James. We should have thought he was talking about Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, but obviously not LeBron James. Like, he says
that's a really good point. Yeah.
You've got to expect that the stuff he says, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, as the 1 seed, I have the Bucks. We got a little bit off track there. So, I got the Bucks at the 1 seed just because teams don't defend Giannis the same way in the regular season as they do in the playoffs. He'll still probably average 30, 10, and 7. I don't think he'll win MVP, but we'll get into that in the next video. I still think he'll be dominant in the regular season. Coach Z, I'm assuming you have the Heat.
I have the Knicks.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I have the Heat. And in short, it was the same reasons I spoke about earlier. They're hungry, man. They're hungry. They have a lot of young talent mixed in with some key vets. I mean, if they get Harden, depend on who they get rid of or trade for, that would only elevate the status of the team. Excellent coaching, hungry, young, established individuals that I think they're going to make that leap and really kind of like even when LeBron went to the Heat to join his trio about how he saw how the Heat culture is with winning. what it is like to do weight room and locker room and meetings and meaningful practices. I think that there's nothing more powerful than a team that was so close to making it and then just having that hunger to be better the next year. So,
All right, so let's all read through our Eastern seeds one more time, and then we'll go to the West. I've got Wizards, Pacers, Raptors, Heat, Celtics, 76ers, Nets, and Bucks. Jack, you've got
Pacers, Wizards, Sixers, Raptors, Celtics, Heat, Bucks, and Nets.
and Coach
Yep.
Z.
I have Hawks, Wizards, 76ers, Toronto, Celtics, Bucks, Nets, and the Heat.
All right, now moving on to the West, we'll go do the same thing we did last time. We'll all say our seeds, and then we'll talk it out. 8 seed, I got the Golden State Warriors.
Ooh, disrespect.
What do you got?
I have the Jazz. I'm in between. Can I like flex it?
Sure.
Can I say Trailblazers, Jazz? Can I add those two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the Blazers as my 8th seed as well.
So you guys kind of agree again. So all.
Well, yeah, and I have the Jazz in kind of that same area as well. So I mean, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, with the Warriors, it's either 7 or 8 or out of the playoffs, in my opinion. Curry is great. He's a top probably 15 player of all time, as most people will say he is. He's a top 5 player in the NBA, in my opinion. I think in most people's opinion. Some would even consider him top 3. I think that's a little far. But he's an offense of himself. He can give you 30-plus a night. He's probably going to be insanely efficient, as he always is. And with Klay Thompson, this is kind of an argument that was made with Kevin Durant scoring a lot when he was with the Warriors. It was like, well, you got to guard Steph Curry. And maybe – and like Steph Curry never got the best – or always got the best defender when he put up his MVP numbers. You never had to put the best defender on Klay just because his main offense was running around screens. So it's not like Curry has never had to deal with a top defender. Of course, there is going to be a lot more eyes on him because you don't have to chase Klay around screens or do anything like that. Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins, still excited to see how they fit together. I think it'll be a little weird. I don't know if it's going to fit well in the starting lineup, but we got to wait and see. Is Draymond like 90 overall Draymond like he was in 2K16, or is he 79 overall Draymond Green like he is right now? We'll wait and see on that too. And then how good is Wiseman? Is he starting center caliber? Is he potential all-star? Like, can you see all-star potential in his first year? Or is he a bust? They got a lot of question marks, but they do have Steph Curry, so 8 seed.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I have a bit more of an optimistic approach with Golden State, but in terms of Portland, I mean, they've got some of their pieces, healthy this year. Rodney Hood, Nurkic, etc. They did lose Hassan Whiteside, though. And I don't think that Nurkic is that much better than Hassan Whiteside. I think he's better, but I don't think he's, like, tiers above Hassan Whiteside. So I really think that Nurkic is kind of an overrated player, especially, with big men coming off of a huge leg injury like he had. I just don't see him dominating the way, he did, being like a 15-10 type player. Damian Lillard, of course, will be great. CJ McCollum will be solid. And Carmelo he'll be all right. But I don't know. The West is always is a really talented conference. The more talented of the two for sure. And I just don't think they have the firepower. To make it past maybe the 7th or 8th seed.
Yeah, to your point about the West being a super loaded conference, if you read through every team in the Western Conference and weren't keeping track, you would probably end up with 12 teams that are going to make the playoffs, 11 or 12.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's why so many people talk about we should just have the top 15 teams make the playoffs or the top 16 instead of bothering with conferences, because the problem is you have teams in the West who work really hard and make the 9th or 10th seed when they would have been like a top 6 or 7 seed in the East. And it's kind of unfair because they were better than those teams if they don't make. So, yeah, the West obviously is loaded, and that's why, I think the Blazers in the East could be on par with, a team like the Sixers or the Wizards. I think they could be, a 6th or 7th, maybe even 5th seed, but in the West, it's just not realistic.
Yeah, and
you have a mixture of 2 teams.
Yeah, my mixture of 2 teams. So, like, at the 1 is going to be Donovan Mitchell, 2 Damian Lillard, 3 CJ McCollum. We're just going to combine them together to the Portland Jazz. I don't know. I mean, I think that both of these squads are good enough to make it to the playoffs. They've consistently been in the playoffs for the last several years, so I don't see them getting out. They have the experience. They have some all-stars on both of those teams. So I see them making it. I'll go with, if there's a tiebreaker, Portland, just from the additions of like Cantor, I think offensively, and then having Carmelo on your team with like a 6-man clear-cut role. He played last night. He looked really good. I don't know how long the tires are going to last, but I'll give the nod to them. But it's a very, very competitive Western Conference, so I could see it going either way.
All right. So now let's move on to the 7 seed. I guess you both have the Jazz as the 7 seed?
No, sir.
Wait,
I had to get them in here. I had to get them in here somehow.
So you
I
got
have
the
Pelicans. I have the Pelicans.
Oh, okay. And Jack, you've got?
The Jazz.
I got the Suns. So
right.
I think we've kind of already argued for the Jazz, but Jack, why do you think they'll fall? Because last year they were the 6th seed.
Because now the Suns are playoff contenders, and I think that the Suns are better than the Jazz. Because last year the Jazz were what, the 6th seed?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's why I have them falling one spot. They're basically the same team as last year, except now the Suns are a playoff team who will take one of the spots ahead of them. So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't agree with that. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Jack. I'm sorry. I was in my own little world for a second. I think the Suns, they made a lot of improvements, and if they play like they play in the bubble, they'll go 72-0, which it would be pretty good. But
right.
I still think the Jazz are better just because they have that continuity. No spoilers as to where I have them in my rankings. But as long as you've got, it's kind of the same thing as with the East. There are 6 teams that I just think are more talented.
Yeah.
The Suns are great. They're well coached. Chris Paul, if he's all-star Chris Paul, then this team could potentially have 3 all-stars. I think people are underestimating how good DeAndre Ayton is going to be this year with Chris Paul as his leader. And the crazy thing is, I could see this team going 45 and like 27-ish. And that'd still only be good enough for a 7 seed, in my opinion. And they have the best leader in basketball, a pretty good coach. They're going to have a good defense, a very good offense. But I can't see them going ahead of the 6 teams that I have in my top 6. And Coach Z, you've got the Pelicans, which is kind of out of left field, but explain.
Yeah, not too much thought in it. When you do these things, you realize who you left out. And as soon as you said the Suns, I'm like, oh. But no, in all seriousness, J.J. Redick, it was an anomaly. There was a higher chance of an asteroid hitting Earth than J.J. Redick not leading a playoff caliber team. So I'm just going with the law of averages. Like, he has to be in. So either he gets traded with another team to get in, or the Pels are in. I'm excited to see Zion for a full year. I like the development of Brandon Ingram. I know he signed that big deal. I was kind of hoping that we could snag him somehow, some way. And then my boy from University of Pittsburgh, Steven Adams, first time in his career, fresh.
The big Kiwi.
Big Kiwi, man. Fresh start. He's going to offer a lot of size, a lot of
Coach G, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But I want you to guess. Is this Steven Adams' bicep right here? Pretty close. Is that Steven Adams?
It's there. It's getting there.
This is Matthew Swanenberg. Tricked you, didn't I? Thought that was Steven Adams.
Yeah.
All right, we'll cut that out of the video because we continue.
No, keep that in. Yeah, I don't know. I just think they have some young talent. They're pretty deep. Their starting 5 to me is very impressive. We'll see how our newer players work out. I know we weren't too high on George Hill, right? You're not a big fan. I know Eric Bledsoe, you guys kind of trashed the last.
George Hill he's with the Thunder.
Oh, he's with the Thunder. Okay, Eric Bledsoe then.
Yep.
Yeah, he's there. So, we'll see.
I'm not going to spoil if I have the Pelicans in the playoffs or not, but they have such a talented roster. We agreed they're the winners of the offseason, Jack.
Yeah.
They're going to be so insanely talented. I guess it remains to be seen if I have them in my top 6. So are we ready to move on to the top 6 then?
Yeah.
All right, I'll start. I got the Portland Trailblazers. Jack?
Okay, I got the Mavericks.
And Coach Z?
I'm Warriors.
Okay, so Coach, I guess we don't know if Jack has the Warriors in his top 5. But
it remains to be seen.
since you seem to be pretty high on the Warriors, I know you're the Warriors fan. You got some bias in there.
Yeah,
But
a lot of easy, a realist Warriors fan with a lot of pessimism.
pessimistic Warriors
This is
fan.
the pre-Curry Warriors, so you think, oh, there's no chance, there's no hope.
So why do you think they'll still be a good team?
I think that they took it really, really hard, Steph Curry not being in the bubble. I think they took it really hard winning 15 games last year, and they have built an identity and culture that they are like winners, and they are expected to compete for championships. And that just kind of threw that off completely.
That's what I thought too. And then Draymond Green decided that he didn't want to play.
That's so true. But this is what I know from Dre. Now that you have your Wiggins there, you got Oubre and Curry back, and then our James Wiseman. I think you're going to get a comet season from Draymond. He's such a prideful guy. He's going to lay it out on the line every single night
But
to
what
develop.
is a common season from Draymond when he's not
No, a
surrounded by two
comet.
All-Stars?
It's like a comet, like a shooting star, asteroid. You're going to get a pretty good, not all-star caliber, but way better than last year's season, and then his career is over. Because some players age differently than others. Russell Westbrook ages differently than James Harden. Draymond Green is one of those guys. As soon as you lose that athleticism, your body starts to hurt, you get older. You're just not the same version because he was never like uber talented in terms of specs, like size and length and stuff like that. He was just like a guy, with a lot of heart. And that can only take you so far when your body is failing. But I have him 6. I think that like Curry's going to bring a lot of like to that offense. I think the Wiseman, we asked, will Wiseman be a starting center? He doesn't have to be. Wiggins doesn't have to do any more than his role. Neither does Oubre. And that's the good thing about Golden State. When it's clicking, shoot the ball when you're open. You'll get the ball. If that opportunity's there, if not, pass it to the next guy. Everybody plays team defense. I think that's good enough to make the playoffs at 6.
Yeah, I agree though. Sorry, what was that?
I'll also say that I came to the realization today, we just don't have the firepower to win. So we'll make the playoffs, but it's kind of sad. It's like bittersweet because there's no way we have a chance of winning a championship or going to the finals.
So I have the Trailblazers as a 6 seed, like I said. I think they're another team that's mad that they didn't, they made the playoffs. But would they have if things were normal? Probably not. So they made the playoffs, but kind of might not have deserved to 100%. People have questioned that. I think they'll play with a chip on their shoulder. I think Dame, CJ are still one of the better backcourts in the league. I know you think Nurkic is a bit overrated. He's not necessarily a top center, but he's definitely not under average, I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely an above average player.
Then Enes Kanter, I love him off the bench. He's a fan favorite type of guy. He'll give you
fantasy favorite too.
10 and 10 in the minutes if he's given those minutes, if he's given the opportunity. Then you got Rocco, Derek Jones Jr., who stroked a couple of threes last night, was looking good. Plus Melo seems to be ageless at this point. He's not athletic, but he brought back the dreads, and maybe that was the fountain of youth for him. I'm expecting a good season out of the Trailblazers. I don't think they have any chance to be a finals contender or move any higher than 6. I think 6 is their ceiling, and I think 6 is what they'll get.
All right, before anyone says anything else, I'd like to alarm you that I hear my mom stomping around, and if she walks into the room, we're going to have to abruptly stop so there can be a cut there that makes sense. So I'm just warning you in case that happens.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, anyway, I had the Mavs as my 6th seed because I just don't know if Kristaps Porzingis is going to be, healthy this year. He had, obviously, a couple seasons ago, he got injured and then was injured again in the bubble. There's an argument to be made that if he had been healthy, that they could have beaten the Clippers. I don't think they would have. I think it would have been a better series, but you have to think too. People usually make that argument saying, "Look at how well Luka played. If only they had played Kristaps. If only they had had Kristaps." But Luka only played that well because they didn't have Kristaps. So it's not really a fair argument. I don't see them taking any leaps from last season, especially with some of the teams in the West like the Suns and the Warriors, who could be in playoff contention, kind of stealing playoff spots around the area that the Mavs I think will be at. So I think if anything, they might be worse than last season. I don't know how much better Luka can get either. He can get more efficient, but in terms of his stats, I don't think he's going to really bring that much more to the team than he is already.
All right, for the number 5 seed, I got the Jazz. Jack?
I got Golden State.
I have the Rockets.
Okay, so I'll explain for the Jazz first since you have them lower. I think Donovan Mitchell is a top 20 player in the league. He's crazy athletic. He's solid efficiency. He's a decent shooter. Crazy electric player. Gobert is a top center, great defender. Joe Ingles, Janglin Joe, is just a really good role player. Does what he does phenomenally well. Then you've got Rolls Royce O'Neal, a decent defender, can kind of come in there and defend for them. Jordan Clarkson off the bench. This team is the definition of the sum is greater than the parts. I didn't say that right, did I? They are greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, they're greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, this is gonna sound crazy, but they were the number one efficiency 3-point shooting team last year. You wouldn't think of that for a team whose best shooter is probably Joe Ingles or Jordan Clarkson, but they're the number one 3-point shooting team. And
and they had Bogdanovich too, so I guess that's not really all that surprising.
On Jen, Coach Z, you said you have the Rockets.
I have the Rockets, and I will admit if I didn't see them play their preseason game yesterday, I wouldn't have had them this high. My big question mark was John Wall being a 2-year layoff. Man, he looked fast and healthy. He reminded me of old John Wall. So I got really excited to see what he could bring to the table. I think that Harden will he'll come back. I mean, money talks, and whenever you start losing your game check and you're used to living a certain way, you're going to come back and play a sport that you love. And I read something interesting. It's like one of the first times I actually ran set plays. Houston. It's not like a free ball. It was like they were running set plays. The guys were getting open. They were involving other members of their team. I thought that was neat. And the power of chemistry with Cousins and Wall, if they both stay healthy, I think that's pretty good. They've been wanting to play with each other since their Kentucky days, so they're finally united. So Houston 5.
And then, Jack, you got the Warriors at 5. So you're very high on them, it seems.
I think that Golden State this is really my best case scenario for Golden State is around the 4 or 5 seed because I think that Steph Curry will play well. I don't think he'll be MVP, but I think he'll be, back to form kind of like not prime like 2015-16, but I think he'll play similarly to how he did, a couple years ago. Obviously, Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins are both solid. Neither of them make up for the loss of my boy Clay, but they're solid. Draymond Green. Yeah, my boy Clay. I'm hoping Draymond will step it up. If again, if he plays terribly, this might not be the case. But I think he plays really well with Steph Curry, and because the Golden State team last year was unrecognizable. This whole team is built around their key pieces, especially Steph Curry, but also Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. So I think
Draymond.
Well, it's not built around Draymond, but I think like Draymond is
you're
built
so
around.
Right, Jack. Yeah.
More like he's built around Green.
He's built around Curry. Even when Durant came,
the whole team is built around.
Durant weren't working well, but when Curry and Draymond were on the floor, a high pick and roll worked every single time.
Yeah, the team is built around the Splash Brothers, especially Steph. So I think when you didn't have either of them playing last year, it's no surprise that Draymond didn't play well. So I think he'll do better, and I think that James Wiseman will be solid. Assuming he's healthy. A lot of young centers struggle with injuries and stuff, struggle to kind of get off the ground and make a name for themselves the way that guards and forwards do. But I think that best case scenario, if everyone does their part, I think that they could definitely make it to the 5 seed.
All right, moving on to the 4 seed. I got the Dallas Mavericks, Coach Z.
I have the Clippers.
And Jack?
I have the Suns.
Whoa, so you got the Suns.
Whoa.
I just realized he doesn't have the Suns, and he might have them top 3.
Who?
You.
No, I told you in the beginning. I just realized the team I left out.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
And Coach Z's top 8 is now can't be trusted. We'll start with Jack.
No, it can be trusted. I don't know.
All right. Good. I think that the Suns are going to be really solid. I think that Devin Booker has proven that he's more than just a scorer. I think that he's, a franchise player that you can build around. And a guy like Chris Paul, still an all-star level player. We saw it, last season. If you remove Chris Paul from last year's OKC team and you remove him from this year's Suns team, who's better, the Suns or the Thunder, in you guys' opinion?
Suns.
Suns, absolutely.
Absolutely, the Suns, exactly. So I think that this team will do even better than OKC did. And OKC, they made the playoffs, so I could see the Suns being, maybe not a top 3 seed, but I could see them, making the 4th seed.
I think they have a better chance to contend
if both of them, play
like
their
for a
full
final spot.
Yeah.
Thunder were more built
Well,
as
yeah,
a regular
obviously
season
this
team. I
season,
think
but
the Suns are built more for the playoffs.
yeah, sure. I think the Suns will do well in the playoffs, but I think, regular season, I think especially coming off of a streak like they had, just missing the playoffs but winning 8 straight games in the bubble, I definitely think that'll give them a boost. And guys like Booker and Ayton will continue to develop with that extra, veteran presence of an all-star player like Chris Paul. I think 4th seed is realistic for them.
So before I do my explanation for the Mavs, can I Luka Doncic plays for the Mavericks, right? As Jack's phone. Okay, so Luka Doncic plays for the Mavericks?
He does play play for them.
Okay, then yeah, they're gonna be the 4th seed. They're gonna be pretty good.
Wait, but they didn't make the 4th seed last year.
That would be that. I would add a piece of that argument for the Mavs of you said Porzingis, if he's healthy, if he can contribute. In my optimistic mindset, he will be, and that's going to propel them to 4th, even though they didn't get there last year.
Coach, see, I thought you had the Rockets 4th. Or did you say the Mavericks were 4th? I thought you said someone else.
Sorry, Swanee, you're kind of breaking up a little bit. What'd you say?
Who did you have 4th? Okay, so yeah. I mean, the Mavericks have Luka Doncic. They have a really decent roster around them with Josh Richardson and Kristaps and.
Wait, did sorry to interrupt. Did Coach Z name the Mavs already?
No, he did not.
No, I didn't.
Wait,
I was
hold
just
on. So if you have the Clippers as 4th.
It's a spoiler alert. You can't say anything.
All right, I'm not saying anything.
Who's number 1?
Okay,
We'll find out
Is that an
on
Easter
the next episode of Debate Mates.
So I got the Mavericks at the 4th seed. They've got one of the best constructed rosters in the league. Seth Curry is a big loss, but I think they'll make up for it. Yeah, 4th seed for sure.
Awesome. And I have the Clippers. I don't know. I just think the end of last year was a disaster. You lose Doc Rivers. You lose Harold to a rival, crosstown rival. And then our boy, Playoff P, signs this huge extension. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I see Kawhi. He's like punching Zubat in the chest or having fun. The chemistry is getting better. He has a chip on his shoulder. Playoff P got that big deal. I don't know if you saw his Instagram. He's like hired his old trainer back in his like MVP caliber season, and he's all in. And then I turn on the game, and here's Playoff P to drain a 3. Nope. It hits the side of the backboard. So they are my 4 seed.
Wow, that's.
Wait, did he actually hit the side of the backboard again?
Yeah, he did. And I was like, oh, Mike, stop.
Again? Wait, he did it again?
He did last night.
No way.
Against the
I
Lakers.
didn't watch the game.
Yeah,
Oh
you got to watch against the Lakers. Yep.
That's funny.
He continues to disappoint us. I have the Clippers as my 3 seed, Jack. I think you probably do too.
Yeah.
Yep, and I flip-flop with you, Swanee. I have Mavs as 3.
Okay.
Yeah, same reasons you just argued. I mean, as long as they have Kawhi, they'll be top 3.
Yeah, I think Kawhi will play well. I don't think PG is going to be as bad as he was. I think that was a bit of a fluke. I don't think he's going to be great, but he'll be a 20-point per game scorer.
Yeah, I could definitely see him averaging 12 and 4 on a 34% shooting. I think that.
Oh yeah, definitely in the playoffs, absolutely. That's why they're not championship contenders at all in my book.
Playoff? How did it all go wrong?
Where did it? He's always been a very bad playoff performer from what I've seen.
He would go head to head with LeBron in the playoffs when he played with Indiana.
Well, yeah, he still got swept though.
Yeah, but his second best player was Roy Hibbert.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. With the Pacers, he was pretty decent in the playoffs, but ever since he came to the Western Conference, my God, just horrendously bad. He can't. I genuinely feel like I watched a video earlier today called "Compilation of People Hitting Game Winners Over Paul George," and it was 11 minutes long. And I was like, "How could it be that long?" And there were like 15 game winners in there.
Yeah, but granted, and when the game's on the line, he's often the defender that marks the best guy.
I get that, but
maybe they have to rethink
I feel
that.
like a team doesn't even get that many game winners dropped on them in the span of like 8 seasons. Like, how many game winners get dropped on a team in a year? Like 2 or 3?
At most, yeah.
At most, so it would take like 8 seasons to get 15 game winners dropped on you. But he's done it in his career alone.
He's amazing.
He's just bad. He's just a
Remarkable.
really bad player. I don't know.
So Jack, I bet you and I and probably Coach Z, we all have the Nuggets at 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
And
Joker.
the Lakers at 1.
Upset.
Yeah. Well,
I
the West
wanted
is
to
kind of
find
self-explanatory.
whatever reason I could to not put the Lakers at 1, but as long as they're healthy right now, it's
undeniable. It's inevitable. It's like Thanos.
it's so sad for me.
Yeah, I don't think Jamal Murray is going to be as good. I think he got on a really hot streak, but I don't think he's really that much better as a player.
Yep,
than
100%
he was. Jokic is still going to be great. He slimmed down a bit. You see him running around in practice. He was kind of zipping around, but
Not healthy goal anymore.
No, and they've got Bol, so I think they'll be pretty good, but I don't know. They did lose what's his name? Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, I think that's a big loss, but Nuggets are just built to be a good regular season team as long as they've got Nikola Jokic.
And I think they're a solid playoff team too.
Yeah.
And then
I don't think
Lakers,
they're a bad playoff team. It's just nobody's beating the Lakers.
Yeah, nobody's gonna beat the Lakers. And as much as I'd love to keep this conversation going, this Zoom meeting is scheduled to end at 7:30, and okay. I'm afraid we'll be in the middle of conversation and it'll just end.
Right, that'd be bad.
So let's call it there. Let's read through our predictions. Well, actually, let's run the risk. Why do you, Jack, not have the Rockets as your 8th seed after that big Harden trade?
Because
I'm not Harden, Westbrook. Sorry,
Harden. Because I get the feeling Harden will probably be traded.
Yeah,
or he'll just straight up sit. Or he'll just sit the way – and, people can do that. Like, Andre Iguodala did that.
I mean, Kawhi did
John
it with
Wall's
the Spurs
done it for the past, 12 years,
I don't remember. I know that's a very NFL-oriented thing to sit for contract negotiation, but it's not a big NBA thing to me.
The other possibility is he gets traded, which I could definitely see is he gets traded.
Kawhi did it with the Spurs. He had the calf injury.
Well, see, he did that because they didn't take a calf injury serious. And
yeah. I don't know. Harden's got no motivation after the whole strip club thing. I don't think he ever is going to want to play with the Rockets again.
Yeah, it's funny that he's basically added every city onto his trade destination at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I've lost so much respect for James Harden. I want the Rockets to pull a San Antonio Spurs, Kawhi Leonard, and say, "Oh, you want to play for you want to go to a nice city, big city, great teammates. You said you want to play for Charlotte, right? You want to play with LeBron Ball?
Hey, don't sleep on Toronto like that. Toronto's a nice city.
Yeah, Toronto's good. That's perfect for Kawhi and his personality too.
I'm sorry,
especially because Canada's so like milk toast. Not to make fun of Canada. I've been to Canada. I love the area, but they're so perfectly chill about literally everything. So it's it fits Kawhi so well.
Coactus.
Yeah, and I've heard that from several NBA players, especially European or foreign players. They're Toronto is a city that I want to be at.
Yeah.
Many of the reasons that you said.
All right, so we'll call it there. Hopefully we have the same trio together to discuss our awards predictions next week.
All right.
Let's go.
I'll let you guys know in advance. Because all of this was right off the top. I forgot. I thought I told you guys, but I guess I didn't.
Nah.
I didn't know what time it was. I didn't know what we were talking about.
Right, fresh from whatever they were doing, no knowledge of what we were about to talk about. And they just gave some probably accurate playoff predictions. So kudos to the debate mates.
Of course.
Thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully you'll enjoy. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Shout out to you guys for coming together to do this vid. We'll see you next week for our awards predictions. And then the next video after that, we'll have some actual NBA games to discuss. Thank you all for watching. Debate mates.